Denise, Denise, it's Denise, it's Denise, it's Denise, Denise, it's a podcast party, it's a podcast party, it's a podcast party.
I gotta say, I feel like we're besties now after this. What's up, guys? It's Denise Salcedo. What's up, everyone? It is Denise Salcedo. Welcome to Speak Now Pro Wrestling. Today, we are going to be discussing the January 11th edition of WWE NXT 2.0. We are back getting the week started, even though I feel the week has not stopped, everybody. I have literally had a show every single day. And I think since last Thursday, I've had a stream every single day. I think Thursday was the only day that I had off. And I think it's all a blur at this point, everybody. I've been covering just about everything that you can think of. So even though this is the first Tuesday stream of the week, it has been this nonstop, continuous flow of show after show after show. But either way, I want to thank you guys so much for coming in here and getting ready to chat NXT with me here today. I thought that overall, we had a pretty good show today. I feel like I want to point out some of the pros of NXT before we move on. Before we actually talk about the show, I do want to point out a couple of the pros that I've been seeing as I was watching today's show. But before I do want to let you guys all know that if you are in this stream, please make sure to take part in the chat, send in your thoughts, and I will go ahead and poke some of those, bring some of those out onto the stream so that we can go ahead and read them and get your thoughts heard on this show. If you would like to send in a super chat, that is the best way to ensure that your comment or question or statement gets read on this podcast, but I will go ahead and try to read some non-super chats as one. However, super chats are encouraged. All right, guys. So first of all, we kind of got a lot to get into. Devin says, "Don't bring yourself out now." You know what? So this week I thought was going to be a pretty light week because heading into this week, I didn't really have anything out of the ordinary planned, my normal slate of shows. But then for some reason, I don't know what happened, but everything got added. Tomorrow, I have to be up at 7 a.m. for an interview, followed by a podcast at 8 a.m., followed by another interview at 10 a.m. So I'm like, all of these things got added out of nowhere this week. But I don't feel like I'm gonna get burned out or anything because this weekend I'm taking a vacation. Well, like a 1-day vacation. Well, 2-day, maybe a day and a half. So I'm very much looking forward to that. It's like the gift at the end. It's the pot of gold at the end of the rainbow. Anyways, guys, so let's get into the show. I want to kick things off by talking about some pros of NXT 2.0 now that we've gotten this far with the new brand and the development of the brand. So some of the pros that I've been noticing, first and foremost, I am so happy that they are announcing pretty much the entire card ahead of time. I feel like in comparison to Raw and SmackDown, NXT 2.0 is actually the show that announces more heading into Tuesday well in advance. So I do like that. Especially heading into this week's show and even last week's show, they did that a lot. For next week's show, not so much, but they have been doing it in the prior past few weeks. The other thing that I want to talk about is that the flow of NXT 2.0 is so much better. It's definitely been improving where we get a nice mixture of things. We get promos, we get backstage promos, we get in-ring promos, we get some good flow with the matches, weaving in and out of these packages and whatnot. And we're also starting to see a more concrete consistency of the talent that we are seeing each and every single week. I finally feel okay, I'm starting to get to know some of these characters. I'm starting to get involved with some of the people, and even some of the people that maybe I wasn't so sure about. Maybe I had a question mark around. Well, you know what? It's becoming a little bit more clear now. So I do feel like the right people are starting to get a little bit more of that TV time. Obviously, this is literally just based off the last couple of weeks and what we've seen from NXT 2.0, but it's not it's getting there. It's definitely getting there. So I thought that today's show, for the most part, like it was not a bad show. We kind of had a lot that happened, but it also wasn't like anything. I felt like it was a good show, but really aside from the main event, there wasn't anything where I'm like, oh my God, this was so newsworthy, or this is a big deal, or anything like that. And even then, the main event wasn't really like, OMG. But we'll talk about all of that good stuff in just a second. Shout out to everybody who's watching from Twitch. Stream of the Butterfly says hello from the Twitch chat, Denise. I don't want the Twitch homies to feel like I ignore them. So I want to make sure to give a shout out to the Twitch homies, and we'll get about all of that stuff. All right, guys, let's get into this show. Let's talk about what actually went down on NXT 2.0. So if you're not watching the program, or you're only watching certain things, this is the best way to kind of keep updated with what the hell is going on, what's working and what is not working with the show. Once again, go ahead and send in your thoughts as we continue on, and we'll go ahead and get right into this. So we opened up the show with our brand new NXT champion, Braun Breaker. So Braun Breaker is basically talking, and this was a nice babyface promo that he essentially did. He basically came out and, acknowledged the fact that he's now the NXT World Champion after defeating Tommaso Ciampa, and basically put over Tommaso Ciampa. He basically said that Ciampa was an outstanding human being, and that after the match, he congratulated him and paid his respects to his father. So I like that. It was very simple, but there wasn't very much after that. Like, that was pretty much the gist of this here. So it is going to be interesting to see what they do with Braun Breaker next, because I kind of had a theory at the end of the show with what they were going to do with Braun Breaker next. And when I realized that wasn't what they were going to do, it kind of bummed me out. But either way, I'm still going to suggest it and put it out there in the universe once we actually talk about the finale of NXT, kind of what I thought / hope that they do with Braun Breaker as champion. Let's see what we got here, guys. Let's get some comments in here. DK says Denise partying with Kacy and Kayden after the stream, which is funny too, because even though my intro is like party blah blah blah, forgot the own lyrics to my own song, I'm not a party person whatsoever. Like, I'm the biggest Wendy Choo there is, okay? Like, I do not party. I'm a grandmother, and I'd rather be napping. Whenever I'm not working, I am napping or in front of the TV. So definitely not partying with Kacy and Kayden. But we got some comments in here. This one's from Zeno Hour, who says Santos would be a perfect opponent for Braun Breaker. And we kind of had that tease, because we did have a little bit of a tease there, because right after, as Braun Breaker was walking to the back, we did have Santos Escobar essentially come out for his match with Xyon Quin. So I do think that that Santos Escobar would be a good opponent for Braun Breaker. I think that's definitely an option there. We got a comment from Tony, who says Braun Breaker brings in more peeps in the dog pound than Arsenio Hall. #truth. What? Oh, this chat's already going off the charts here. Let's get into this, guys. Let's get into Xyon Quin and Santos Escobar. So this whole thing, if you have been here on my streams discussing this love triangle storyline, telenovela thing with Elektra Lopez and Santos Escobar and Xyon Quin, you have kind of seen that this story has kind of been a little bit of a mess. Last week, we were sitting here talking about the fact that it just stopped making sense. Like, in the beginning, okay, it was kind of making sense. Elektra Lopez kind of had the hots for Xyon Quin, and she wanted him to be part of Legado del Fantasma. For some reason, Santos Escobar was not there, and so she was looking for somebody to essentially team up with her and, Legado del Fantasma to sort of replace Santos Escobar. Okay, but then Xyon Quin essentially rejects her. And then afterwards, Elektra Lopez and him start to have this thing where you're like, there's this connection between them, but you don't know who is playing who. You don't necessarily know if Xyon Quin is just playing Elektra Lopez or if Elektra Lopez is playing Xyon Quin. The way that they were telling this story was a little bit confusing, because never once did Xyon Quin actually seem like he had legitimate interest in Elektra Lopez, right? He kind of teased her, like he taunted her. He never actually like was completely invested in Elektra Lopez. Elektra Lopez, you always knew that you shouldn't trust her. Like you weren't really sure what was going on with that. But Xyon Quin, based on what that story that was being told, they never really made it seem like he had the hots for her. Like they had this thing, but it kind of seemed like he was playing her, like he was using her. So anyways, we get into the stipulation where all of a sudden last week, Elektra Lopez basically says like, hey, we're going to go ahead and, have a match between Santos Escobar and Xyon Quin, and the person gets to go home with me, right? And I'm thinking to myself, but why would like Xyon Quin has never expressed that sort of interest in Elektra Lopez? Like just staring at her was enough, because if you were following the story, he was kind of using her. He even costed her like a match at one point. And so it's like, why all of a sudden would he want to win this match and go and essentially keep Elektra Lopez when he could have technically had her earlier on had he shown some interest in actually wanting her? So if you're confused by the storyline, trust me, I am too. So anyways, we head into this match. We have Santos Escobar and Xyon Quin, and those are essentially already the issues, complications heading into the storyline, right? It doesn't necessarily completely, totally make sense, but whatever. This match itself, it was perfectly, like, it was okay. It was a nice little match between Xyon Quin and Santos Escobar. But what we really need to talk about is the story, because now it seems like we finally have a clearer understanding as to what Elektra Lopez essentially wanted out of this. So we end up seeing Santos hit the Phantom Driver for the win. So he gets to essentially, it sounds really wrong, but he gets to keep Elektra Lopez, go home with Elektra Lopez, whatever you want to say. But this was essentially a bunch of stuff led up to the Phantom Driver. So we saw Legado del Fantasma cause a distraction to Xyon Quin. We saw Elektra Lopez and Xyon Quin have this eye-to-eye moment, and Xyon Quin let himself be fooled by Elektra Lopez. And so she ended up, I think she like kicked him or something. And so that ended up essentially costing him the match. Her essentially basically saying she is aligned with Santos Escobar, and Legado del Fantasma distracting him, which all led to the Phantom Driver by Santos Escobar to Xyon Quin for the win. So now Elektra Lopez remains with Legado del Fantasma. So my whole thing is had Xyon Quin been like really clear about the fact that he had interest in Elektra Lopez, this whole story would have made much more sense to me. It would have made so much more sense, because now instead the story is, to me, the way that I see it, I see the story as, oh, Elektra Lopez wanted an opponent from Santos Escobar, so she used her womanly charms to charm in Xyon Quin, also as a punishment for him not wanting to join Legado del Fantasma. So I do think that some things could have been reworked just a little bit more for this storyline to make cohesive sense. But other than that, it kind of really made Xyon Quin look really dumb. Xyon Quin came out looking really dumb in this whole story. Elektra Lopez, she looks boss at the end of the day. So that's pretty much that, guys. Like, how do you feel about the story? Like, do you agree with me? Did it not make sense, and now it's sort of makes sense? Or did you feel this story made sense all along, and especially now in hindsight with the way that things turned out? Go ahead and let me know in the comments, and let's see what people are saying here. Let's see what we got. Zeno Hours says Elektra Lopez and Legado del Fantasma were actually the baby faces in this feud. I don't think so. No, it's Xyon Quin was technically the baby face heading into this in my eyes, because he was the one that essentially was offered to join Legado del Fantasma, and he basically said no. And then Elektra Lopez was the one that formulated this whole plan against him. So I don't see. Oh man, this is complicated. All right, let's get some more thoughts in here. Let's see what we got, guys. This one's from Walter Johnson, who says this story is okay. Lopez did her job at ringside. Stellar Justin Lopez says, BTW, I love the way Denise pronounced Lopez. Thank you. Thank you. Let's go through a couple more comments here, guys, and get some more comments. This one's from Dante, New York City, who says Quinn attacked before the bell. That's a heel move. But I'm talking about the entire time, though. The entire time, there was no way that Legado del Fantasma were the baby faces in this. No freaking way. Like, no way. No way. No. I did not see them as the baby faces in this story. Not even. Let's go through a couple more comments. This one's from CM Pepsi, who says, I feel like Quinn isn't going to gain anything from this. For a second, I thought that he was, but now it's kind of like, okay. I think the person that probably gained the most from this was Elektra. I think she probably gained the most of this. Ron says, it made sense to me. The story should continue. I think Elektra should be on deck to fight for the title too. What? Oh, man. Let's go through a couple more comments here. This one is from, let's go through a couple more comments. We got Juice81, who says that Xyon Quin was the face. You see, that's what I thought too. So clearly, we're a little bit torn on this one, but whatever. Let's go through a couple more comments here, and let's see if I missed anything. I think I got most of what you guys wanted to get in here about this storyline. But once again, guys, feel free to take part in the chat. If you are here, do not be shy. Make a friend, leave a comment, and I'll go ahead and pull those up as well. All right. Also, if you do watch the replay of this, you can go ahead and let us know in the comments section below. All right, let's get into Cameron Grimes versus I believe it was Damon Kemp. I hope I caught that right. I know for sure it was Kemp at the end, but let's just make sure. Either way, let's get into this. Hold on. We got another comment about this whole situation with Elektra and all of this. DK says, Quinn is the babyface who just wants to hold the door open for a lady. Man, I didn't get that either. All right, let's get into this. Cameron Grimes versus Damon Kemp here. This was not bad, guys. This was a pretty good little sprint of a match. I think what I liked about this was that it reminded me why I'm a fan of Cameron Grimes, because pretty much every time he goes out there, he is essentially his wrestling style is very very lively. So no matter who he's wrestling against, you always get a pretty, fun, energetic match. And I don't necessarily think I've really seen any bad Cameron Grimes matches. So we got that on that end. On the end of Kemp, this was essentially like our introduction to him. And I liked what he did. I thought he looked pretty good. He had a really nice, suplex during this match, which kind of stood out to me. But we kind of got a little bit of, this wasn't bad at all. I think what I really liked though was the finish, because Cameron Grimes essentially just hit him with the knee to the face. It was brutal. It was really impactful. Love the finish. I think this was a win-win for both guys. To me, Cameron Grimes again reminded me why I'm a fan, and Kemp got over for me, and I want to see more of him now after this match. So I think that's how I feel about that. Mike New York says, to the moon. To the moon for hold on a second. Was that him? Hold on. Let me go through a couple more comments. All right, hold on. Damn, I want to check something now. 1 second, guys. That was him. Oh my God. I wasn't sure. And then somebody just left it right now. Okay, so just heads up. Damon Kemp is Bobby Stevenson. Yes, so that's Gable Stevenson's brother. Dang, I didn't recognize them. I hardly know the guy, so I obviously did not recognize him. Okay, and I didn't know that was going to be his new name. All right, there we go. We got that solved. So yeah, he does not look bad whatsoever. I would say that for the most part, that was a pretty good little matchup that he had. Based on what we saw, I'm interested. Thank you so much for pointing this out. Thank you for pointing that out, because I almost completely almost dismissed it. We got a super chat from Anima Master, who says, hello, hope you're having a good day in the current state of NXT. How unpopular it seems to be. Now, do you think NXT could sell out arenas if they hold pay-per-views? Shock. Sorry, special live events again. Hold on. So your question is if you're asking if NXT could sell out arenas if they hold pay-per-views again? I don't think so, guys. I just don't feel that NXT 2.0 is nearly... I just don't think that the interest is really there. So I'm going to say I would probably say no, to be honest. Like, I would just say, like, right now, NXT 2.0 still needs a lot of work. It still needs to kind of get back that devoted fan base that they once had. And I don't think that the fan base, to me at least, does not feel as devoted as they were when it was the black and gold brand. So I would lean more towards the no side. But thank you so much to Anima Master for not only sending in a super chat, but also asking a pretty good question. Thank you so much for sending this in. All right, guys, let's go. Daniel Rodriguez points out that he wrestled on 205 Live. I do not watch 205 Live. Who watches 205 Live? And there's always people that watch 205 Live. I know there's going to be someone later on in the chats like, she doesn't watch 205 Live. How dare she not watch 205 Live? I don't think I've ever watched 205 Live. Like, I cannot name you one match that I saw on 205 Live. Not one. All right, let's go ahead and move on, everybody. Oh, man, I'm kind of more excited now. Dang, I'm pretty excited about Kemp. Damon Kemp. I'm looking forward to him. Anima Master says, wait, 205 Live is still a thing? Jesus. All right, guys, let's move into our next matchup here. We got a tag team match. This was, I thought I was going to like this. I ended up not liking this, all right? And here's my reason. So we had Joe Gacy and Harlan versus Idris Nofi and Malik Blade, two guys, BTW, that based on what we have been seeing from them on NXT, I have become a fan of both of these guys. I have been a fan of Idris. I've been a fan of Malik. I think that they're both really good. I've been liking what we've been seeing. So based on all of that, I thought we're going to have a fun match here with Joe Gacy and Harlan. I was expecting a fun match. That's what I was expecting from this. But this really ended up just being Harlan essentially deciding just to basically choke out Malik Blade on the turnbuckles, and that ended up causing them to get disqualified. So Idris and Malik ended up winning due to disqualification. So now they are part of the, they essentially earned a spot on the Dusty Tag Team Classic. So for me, I'm like, based on what I've seen from these two guys and how they got included into this tag team classic, I feel it doesn't do them justice. Like let's say I'm a person that didn't watch NXT and I just tuned in today, right? And I saw this, and these guys got into this tournament because of the way that it ended up being a DQ, right? I would not cheer for them. I'd be like, why am I going to cheer for these guys? Like, they just got in there by default because this guy went nuts. Like, I wouldn't cheer for them. So it kind of made me upset knowing that I know that they're good, because I just didn't think that the DQ was the best way to get them into the tournament. Like, it doesn't hype me up for them. I should be hyped to see them in the tournament. This de-hypes that. It de-hypes it. I don't even know if that's a word. Anyway, so I get that they're protecting Harlan and all of this. I get what they were trying to do, but I wasn't necessarily a fan of this whole outcome. I think maybe they could have even had more of a longer match to showcase what both of these guys could do, and then maybe do the disqualification. Maybe. I don't know if I would have loved that either way. All right, guys, send in your thoughts. How did you feel about this? Do you agree? Do you disagree? Let's get some comments in here and get what we Devin says it's essentially the NXT equivalent to main event 205 Live. Killer Mike 375 says it's crazy 205 Live and main event are still a thing. Have never seen either of them. Thank God I'm not alone. Cadillac Carson says I didn't care about the baby faces were beat up, but they still won because of Harlan was disqualified, and Gacy is smiling about it. Gacy is always smiling about things, guys. Justin Martin says nothing like qualifying because your opponent wouldn't stop beating the crap out of you. Thank you very much. You said in one sentence what I was trying to say. I cannot cheer for guys that essentially got into this tournament because they got their butts kicked. Why would I cheer for them? Which makes me upset because they are good. They are, well, I mean, we haven't seen them as a team, but they're good individually based on what we've seen. Jesus. Thank you so much to Justin for sending this in here. I appreciate that. Brent M says, announcer putting this as a huge upset when Harlan gets DQ'd 100% of his matches. Yeah, I get what you mean. Thank you so much to Brent M for also sending in this comment here. All right, guys, let's go ahead and move on. But before we do, for those of you guys who are here, who are new to this stream, and you're like, hey, Denise, when else do you go live? So I go live every Tuesdays because we're here to talk about NXT. And then Wednesday, tomorrow, I will be here for AEW Dynamite. And then Friday, I will be here again for Smackdown and Rampage. So it's going to be a good time, guys. Make sure to check back here, turn on your notifications, subscribe to the channel, do what you need to do to make sure that you guys are here for the stream. All right, here we go. After this, we got a pretty awesome package for Imperium. Oh, I love this. I marked out so hard for this because they were essentially doing this whole thing where they're talking about how they don't like unclassy, unfashionable people. And they were basically saying that they're like more of like, you know, more sophisticated, more high society, that sort of thing. Oh, I bloody love that. And it's true. You look at Imperium and they're like finely dressed men. They come across as you take them seriously. So I love this. I loved the package. I loved everything about what they did with this. So this idea was spot on here. Let's go ahead and move on from here. And let's get some more comments. Tony says, we want Walter in the Royal Rumble. Hell yeah. Mike New York says Walter versus Braun Breaker. That would be awesome too. Pile driver finisher says Walter is super classy. Chops are complimentary. He gives you some classy chops, man. Those are some classy chops. Alrighty, guys. Let's go through a couple more comments here. And Cadillac Carson says, Imperium does have a weakness, toxic attraction. That is true. This is a fact, actually. We did see this whole little interaction a couple weeks back. Yeah, I remember that. All right. Where are we going from here? Pete Dunne versus Tony D'Angelo in a crowbar on a pole match. A crowbar on a pole match. I repeat. This wasn't bad, guys. This was honestly not bad. I know that we're not, you know, in love with the crowbar on a pole match. I get it. I know that there's a lot of people that are like, ugh, they don't like this type of stuff. Okay, I get it. I actually thought that this kind of protected Tony D'Angelo a bit because obviously Tony D'Angelo, he's still new. He's not, you know, he's no Pete Dunne. He's still new and he's still green. He's getting there. He's definitely not bad, but he's not about to put on a 5-star performance, you know? So I think given the added stipulation and the fact that he was in there with Pete Dunne kind of protected him and made him look pretty good. So first and foremost, give a lot of credit to Pete Dunne, man, because Pete Dunne went out there and did the work, man. He did so much to really, really spice up and make this match sizzle. I mean, this guy was stomping Tony D'Angelo like there was no tomorrow. Once they finally got the crowbar, you basically saw both of those guys utilize the crowbar. We saw Tony D'Angelo like choking out Pete Dunne with the crowbar, both of them using them on another. And then afterwards, we end up seeing for the finish, Tony D'Angelo, and Tony D'Angelo had to get the win here, guys, because Tony D'Angelo, this was the biggest match that he's had on NXT 2.0. He's a fairly popular character on the show, but he's just not that, like, he's just not there yet at the level that he's supposed to be, like, in-ring wise. He's not there yet, right? So, again, the stipulation protected him. So, for the finish, he ended up hitting Pete Dunne, like, smack in the face with a crowbar, like a really good shot, and that is how he was able to win this match. So, I feel that they made a good call by adding this stipulation so that it could sort of protect Tony D'Angelo, and at the end of the day, you still had Pete Dunne essentially like, man, he was literally doing everything in this match. Everything that was good in this match was done and executed by Pete Dunne. So seriously, kudos to him for going out there and basically making Tony D'Angelo look good. Good stuff there. I liked it. Cool. Good win for Tony D'Angelo. We'll see what they go from here. I don't know if they're still going to continue this feud with Tony and Pete Dunne. I feel like there's still more that they could probably do, but then at the same time, you can end it, you can wrap it. But I kind of feel like they could probably still do a little bit more because, like, who else is Tony D'Angelo going to have a match like this with? Who else, really? Pete Dunne? Pete Dunne, like he could be easily put in a situation where like you stop seeing him. So I feel like you might as well utilize both of them a little bit longer. All right, guys. See, this is the truth. This is true and sad. Francisco Marcus sends in a comment, says Pete Dunne goes to the main, gets buried immediately. Like, there's not much else. Like, for the black and gold era guys that are still there, they got to find something, do something, or else, like, if you're not doing something right now, like, it's not looking good for you, you know? Like, you got to be doing something. You got to be in some sort of program, or else it's, like, terrifying. Like, you just don't know what your future essentially holds. Let's get through a couple more comments. This one is from Dylan Flynn, who says, Pete Dunne is one of the greatest wrestlers, and I want to see him do so much more. Yeah, I completely agree with you. There was a good amount of time where I really thought they were going to pull the trigger and have Pete Dunne win the NXT championship. And I really thought that moment was going to come. Like, I felt it. I was like, we are on the precipice of finally seeing Pete Dunne as champion. And it didn't happen. And then before you knew it, all this other stuff started happening. All these changes rolled in. And by then, ship had sailed. The ship had sailed, legitimately. Let's go through a couple more. This one's from Zeno Hour, who says, I think Tony killed Pete at the end. Drew Scott says, I'm guessing this was Pete Dunne's final match in NXT. Do you see him having a future on the main roster? This is what's sad. This is where we're at, guys. Like, man, the fact that we can't necessarily find a good thing for Pete Dunne next up, that's not a good sign. It's not a good sign. I hope that, again, I think the best option right now is to keep the story going with Tony D'Angelo and Pete Dunne. Somehow, some way, keep it going. I mean, it's scripted. They can find ways to keep it going, guys. We've seen rematches. We can have it. Pile Driver Finisher says Tony D is street tough. Pete Dunne is a brawler. There is a difference. There is a difference. There was tonight. Let's see what we got here. Let's go through our next topic, actually. Let's get into our 6-woman match. This was pretty interesting because we got to talk about Wendy Choo here. So we got Wendy Choo, Persia Pirotta, Indi Hartwell versus Amari Miller, Kacy, Catanzaro, and Kayden Carter. This was really just to get an introduction to Wendy Choo. So we've been seeing her essentially in the background of places, sleeping for weeks now. You would see people doing promos and you'd see her in the back asleep. You would see her sleeping in the crowd. She was always somewhere asleep, and she was, would do the little yawning thing and all of that. Really cute stuff. And a lot of people were kind of trashing this character, kind of saying like, oh, I can't believe they did this to her. Oh, this is so embarrassing. And I kept seeing a lot of people say that, but I didn't necessarily hate the idea. It was more so of like, when are they gonna have her wrestle? Like we've seen it. She's lazy, she's sleepy. We get the character, but when are we going to see her wrestle? And if so, how is that going to change her wrestling when she gets into the ring based on the adjustments that she has to make because of the new character change? So I think that was the thing that I was personally most curious about. And so during this match, we essentially saw her not wanting to help out, not necessarily help, not that she didn't want to, but she was too sleepy to help out Indi and Persia. And so Indi and Persia were kind of doing all the work, and they were kind of looking at her like she's just in the way, right? Like she was just in the way. And then out of nowhere, she finally gets a tag. She gets into the ring and she just explodes, man. Like we just see her go in there. She kicks butt. She brings the intensity. And then when she's no longer in the match, she goes back to her sleepy self. So whenever she's not in the match, she's sleepy, she's got her eyes closed, all of that good stuff. But when she's in the ring, she's kicking butt. And I kind of like this. Like, I don't hate it. It makes me wonder, though, if we're only going to, or for like the majority of the time, if we're only going to see her in tag team matches, because this would not necessarily, I wonder how this would work in a singles match. I don't necessarily feel like it would work that great. Maybe I have to see it be executed, but right now it kind of feels like it's better, like we're better off having her in these tag team matches, especially if she's going to be obviously she has to be incorporating this character into her, into what she's doing in the ring. So I personally feel that they should do it that way. They should have her in tag team matches. And if she gets the tag, she comes in and she's as explosive as she was today, then it'll make her entertaining. Like, I like it. She feels relatable to me. We're all sleepy. We're all tired all the time. So why isn't Wendy Choo relatable? She definitely is. So that was pretty much it. We ended up seeing Indi Hartwell get the win for her team. So thoughts on this, guys? Do you love the Wendy Choo character? How do you feel about the different dynamic that she is bringing to her matches now with this new character? Tattooed Mulligan says that this is sort of like Orange Cassidy, sort of. You're not the first person to bring this up, and obviously it's something that you think about. Yeah, there's little aspects that are similar to it. Still very different, right? But there is the little bit of the similar aspects to it. But I don't necessarily think that that's, an issue. We got a comment from Tony who says, I love Wendy Choo. She's so animated, cute, bubbly, and guarantees to kick butt. I look forward to see more of this sleeper phenom on NXT. So it kind of seems like people are digging her. This one's from Dylan who says Wendy Choo needs to go crazy when she gets waking up. That's what I like too. I like that you don't know what to expect because she comes in, she's exhausted, and you're thinking, oh, she's going to suck. She's not going to do anything. She's going to be there like that the whole match. And then she gets into the ring and she's like up and alert. So I do like it. Ron says he likes it, thinks it's fresh. Let's go through a couple more comments here and see what people thought of this. And we got more people bringing up the comparisons with Orange Cassidy. Darth Stevens says, I enjoyed Wendy in this match. And also, I'm really happy Indi and Persia finally got a match on TV. They're my favorite team in NXT. Yep. And for a while, though, they were doing that weird thing with Persia and Indi where they really weren't on the same page. And for a second there, I thought that they were going to break up. They didn't. They dropped that already. They haven't really made any mentions of Indi and Dexter. Like, we haven't really had much about them as like a married couple. They've just kind of just been sort of doing their own thing. So I wonder when that'll, sort of come up again. We'll see when that comes up again. Let's see what else we got here. Zeno Hour says Wendy Choo, Wendy wrestling in a onesie, instant GOAT status. Yeah, she wrestled in the onesie. I think she also wrestled with the with the face mask. I think she had it on the entire time. I don't know if she took it off or had it on. I don't remember. But she had the slippers as well. So she had the full entire getup. She had, the ponies and all of that. So she was definitely looking very cute. Cadillac Carson says, my expectations were low and Wendy exceeded them. Good for her. I agree. Ron says Kacy for the woke crowd, Wendy Choo for the sleepy crowd. Two different types of woke. Oh my God. All right. Let's go ahead and move on. So, thumbs up. We're fans of Wendy. It's working. Alrighty, guys. Before we move on to the next topic here, I do want to let you guys all know that over on my YouTube channel, youtube.com/Denise Salcedo, I have officially dropped a brand new interview. I dropped an interview today with Lio Rush. Lio and I spoke about his retirement, why he essentially left wrestling, decided to come back to wrestling, and how his experience has been with AEW thus far. We talk about his relationship with Tony Khan, his working relationship with Tony Khan, and how essentially he ended up, supporting him when he wanted to come back and basically saying like, cool, you're ready to go. Let's do this. He really talks about how all of that essentially went down. And then he also talks about teaming up with Dante Martin, how that whole thing came about, what it was like, all of the good stuff, the finer, details. He also talks about PWG Battle of Los Angeles, which is coming up later this month, in which he is an entrant. And he also talks about New Japan Strong. So we kind of cover a lot of topics, definitely discuss a lot of AEW. So if you do want to check out that interview, again, it's youtube.com/Denise Salcedo. Literally just went up today, a couple of hours ago. So please check that out. Give it some love if you guys want. But now let's go into Boa versus Solo Sikoa. So I was not interested in this match whatsoever. Like, going into this, I was like, all right, let's do this. Boa versus Solo Sikoa, right? And I gotta tell you, what they did today with both of these guys, I was a fan of. I think this was the fastest way for the people to get interested in two guys that they probably didn't really care about. So even though I just feel like I went into this with zero interest, I came out of this with at least like 60% interest. I don't know. I'm not going to put any percentage, but you get what I'm saying. I'm far more interested now than I was heading into this matchup here, than I was into both of these guys, because like Solo Sikoa, to be honest, I haven't been blown away by Solo Sikoa. Like I haven't been like, oh my God, this guy's, OMG. Like I haven't been blown away by him just yet. But I liked what he did today. Boa, I feel bad for Boa. And this is not necessarily that I feel bad for Boa, but I do feel bad for how I felt about Boa, because they spent so much time doing absolutely nothing with Boa. So when you essentially don't do anything with this person for such a long time, and then all of a sudden you start doing something with him, as a person that has been watching the show, I kind of feel like you taught me not to really care about this guy. Like he's just, a shadow, like he's just in the background, right? Like that's what you're telling your viewer when you haven't really seen much of that person, where they really didn't do anything. And so Boa has been having pretty decent matches. His match today with Solo Sikoa, I thought was pretty entertaining. Like I was invested in it. And so that's why I was like, man, if they didn't waste all this time doing nothing with Boa, I think I would have been more interested in Boa, because he's not bad. Like he's not bad at all. So for me, seeing Boa now, I'm just like, damn, I kind of feel bad that they didn't do anything with him before. And I get it. He was doing the whole, mating thing and all of that was going on. I was not interested in that whatsoever. So this for me, this was good. All right. So we kind of got to see a lot of, a nice, decent match here. But what ends up happening is it ends up being a double count out. So afterwards, they basically they brawl. They end up going to the back, which we don't see till a couple segments afterwards. So a good amount of time essentially goes by between the end of their match and when we see them again fighting in the back. So they're brawling in the back and they're beating each other up with all the stuff in the back and all of that, right? And then there's this moment where you essentially see out of nowhere, I may add, out of nowhere, a fireball just hits Solo Sikoa in the face, legitimately out of nowhere. You're watching this and then you just see a big boom in your face. And so then afterwards, you have your moment of reacting to that. And then afterwards we see Boa, we see Boa pop up from behind, and he essentially has his face mask on and, kind of has this evil side of him, or this other side of him. He has two personalities, essentially. The way I see it, he's the Alexa Bliss of NXT. That's the best way to describe this. So legitimately, I liked what they did here. I didn't hate this. I think this made me more interested in both Boa and Solo Sikoa, and I'm looking forward to seeing what they do with both of these guys moving forward. So it wasn't terrible, guys. Wasn't terrible. Cadillac Carson says, ugh, this feud must continue. I think they made it more interesting today, at least with all of the backstage brawling and all of that little stuff that they added. I think it kind of made things a little bit better. Let's see what else we got here, guys. And we got a comment from Hector Rodriguez, who says that Solo has a different style to his brothers, Jimmy and Jay. And let's go through a couple more comments and see what we got here. This one is from Tony, who says, I was a bit disappointed that Solo's undefeated streak had ended. The good news is that it was a draw due to a double count out. Yeah, I guess. I just don't think that I was necessarily all that invested in Solo Sikoa's undefeated streak to even care. So truthfully, it didn't make a difference to me whatsoever. It did not make a difference to me. All right, guys, let's get into, we got two more things to talk about. We got Trick Williams and Carmelo Hayes. They come out and basically they do a moment of silence for Roderick Strong's championship run. They do a moment of silence for that. And they celebrate that, he's the unified champion, etc. They do that. And then he kind of just goes over and, puts over himself. It was fine. Good stuff. Nothing much else to really add there, to be honest. But they did announce that next week we are having the start of the round 1 of the Men's Dusty Classic. So that's officially kicking off next week. But now, something we do have a lot to talk about, which was the main event. AJ Styles versus Grayson Waller. So this has been, this was something that was incorporated into NXT 2.0 and even the main roster that kind of came and occurred out of nowhere, okay? This really fell out of the blue to see AJ Styles and Grayson Waller in this program together that even bled on over to Raw. Now, before I continue, we have a super chat. Thank you so much to Nick Grasso for sending in a very kind and generous super chat. Nick says that this was just an okay show. Grayson Waller put on a good match with AJ Styles, but how is anybody going to take him seriously if all he does is lose? And what is this women's division is just about Mandy and her bikini and not about wrestling? I think that the Mandy stuff doesn't bother me, okay? Like, I don't mind. Obviously, she's a very good-looking woman. She's a great body, and now I sound like a creep. That's not what I'm trying to do. But I do not hate the idea of her going out there and, basically being out in front of her pool and talking about how glorious and amazing she is and all of that good stuff. I don't hate it, okay? I don't hate it. I think that it adds to her character and it adds to this whole toxic attraction stuff. It makes sense with what the story that they're telling with Mandy is, okay? Now, on the Grayson Waller, AJ Styles side, we got plenty to talk about here because this felt all wrong. All of it felt very, very wrong, okay? So from the very beginning, I said, wow, this is amazing for Grayson Waller. Let's be real. It kind of is amazing for Grayson Waller. The guy got to be in the same ring as AJ Styles. He got to share multiple interactions with him where they did promos and all of that. He got to be on Raw twice, even cost AJ Styles a match on Raw. Okay, so for Grayson Waller, this was a win all around until the very end when it wasn't a win for him. So on the NXT 2.0 side of things, it's like it was a win for Grayson Waller, right? Not an actual win in the match, but a win across the board just for name recognition and, becoming a star and status and all of that, right? But the fact that this didn't end up necessarily being a win for him in this match with AJ Styles doesn't necessarily make sense on the NXT 2.0 side of things, okay? So now we have this other side where for AJ Styles, being involved in this program with Grayson Waller was like it was a step down, okay? It was a step down. It wasn't anything that not one person here was like, oh my God, I really want to see AJ Styles and Grayson Waller. I don't think a person out there saying that. I think there was probably 100 other people you probably wanted to see AJ Styles have a match with, right? There was more people that you want to see him work with. And so we get it. Like, it's helping NXT 2.0 to have somebody like AJ Styles. But for AJ Styles, it's not necessarily, it's not what you want to see from AJ Styles. You want to see something else, right? Something big deal, something more important. So then I'm thinking, like, going into this match, had AJ Styles lost to Grayson Waller, I would have been livid. I would have been pissed. I would have came onto the stream and been like, what the frick? What is happening? Why did they do this? Are they nuts? What are they thinking? So you get what I mean here. Like, on the NXT side of things, it was all flowers and things for freaking Grayson Waller. But for AJ Styles, it wasn't the greatest. So, like, when you come up, it depends on what mindset you're bringing into this, right? So then I'm thinking, okay, AJ Styles has to get the win because I would be freaking livid if AJ Styles didn't get the win here. Okay, AJ Styles gets the win. Cool. So then I'm thinking to myself, what was the point then for Grayson Waller? He lost on his own territory, which is NXT 2.0. That's his turf. And he lost to AJ Styles. So what does, aside from everything that I mentioned before, at the end of it all, what does Grayson Waller gain from this? And I'm thinking to myself, like, where do they go from here? And my original thinking was, and this is what I had mentioned, what I had alluded to earlier, my original thinking was, okay, maybe they are going to have AJ Styles stick around a little bit longer to work more with some of the other guys on the NXT 2.0 roster. Maybe perhaps Braun Breaker. I thought maybe, they're going to get Braun Breaker over by having him work with AJ Styles. Maybe that is where we're heading. Maybe this is why they brought in AJ Styles to first, do something with Grayson Waller. Maybe he'll do something with Braun Breaker. And if not Braun Breaker, maybe Carmelo Hayes. I thought, okay, maybe we'll go there. Maybe we'll go in that direction. I'm starting to think. And then at the end of this match, AJ Styles, he wins and he basically tells Grayson Waller, you're good, but you're not phenomenal. And I'm like, that's a great line. Secondly, he says, let me introduce you to a friend of mine. And I'm sitting there thinking, him and Omos broke up. Like, what friend? And I started thinking of in my head, I was like, okay, where are they going with this, And then LA Knight comes out. And I'll just be honest, I was completely disappointed. I was just like, that's where we're going with this? That's why this whole thing happened? So that we can go back to square one with the first guy that Grayson Waller was already feuding with that nobody had any interest in? I don't think anybody had any interest in Grayson Waller, LA Knight. We move on. And then we ended up back where we were at with Grayson Waller and LA Knight. I was so beyond disappointed with this. I thought this was a letdown. This was a very big letdown for me. And now I'm just like, all right, I don't know. What do you guys think? Were you excited to see LA Knight come in? And we're circling back to LA Knight, Grayson Waller. Do you want to see more of AJ Styles on NXT? Possibly working a program with Carmelo Hayes or maybe even Braun Breaker? Or do you think, nope, send back AJ to Raw and obviously keep him there and, actually do something with him there too. That's a whole other story. I don't know, guys. Let's see what you guys are saying here. This one is for Ike Moore, who says, I loved LA Knight getting that ending spot, man. I'm a mark. Yeah, I hope this clears the way for AJ Rumble win. I am shocked, Ike Moore. Why? I'm sorry. For me, this was such a disappointment. I was like, no. Why? It was a very disappointing reveal. But thank you, Ike Moore. I'm glad somebody liked it. You guys are allowed to like what you want to like. This one is from Dante, New York City, who says, not a fan of Waller getting in so much offense and really didn't like him getting out of the calf crusher from mid-ring. They gave him a little bit of offense, but not too much. I mean, for the most of it, it was pretty much AJ Styles running circles around him during this match. Let me pull up a couple of the spots during this. So the top of this match, AJ Styles really had the upper hand. We saw it kind of turn a little bit midway. We saw Grayson Waller hit AJ Styles with a clothesline on the outside of the ring. That looks pretty good on Grayson Waller's part. Afterwards, when we came back from commercial break, we saw Styles do a combo of strikes, which you have seen him do on multiple opponents, and he obviously did them on Grayson Waller here today. He did, crossbody onto him. Grayson Waller ended up doing an elbow from the top rope. We saw a stunner from Grayson Waller. We saw AJ do his Pele kick, followed by a brain buster, and eventually AJ Styles getting the win there. So yeah, that's what that was. Thank you so much to Dante NYC for also sending in this super chat as well. Let's see what we got here, guys. Let's get some more comments on anybody else. And sorry, I think a couple people are saying that I am freezing at the end. Let me close these windows, guys. My internet's been a little bit funky today, but we're almost towards the end of this. Let's see what else we got here. Let's get YT says, damn it, now I want Waller in the Rumble. We got CM Pepsi, who says maybe Waller might mess with AJ in the Rumble match. No, I think they should end it already. I don't want to see any more with Waller and AJ Styles. I think that's it. That they should essentially just wrap it. This is the end of it. We should not see anything more with Grayson and AJ Styles. That's it. Done. Finito. Let's see what else we got here. This one was Michael Jefferson, who says, just let LA Knight go up to the main roster. Out of all the guys there, he might have the best chance. And I only want Styles to stick around to wrestle Breaker and Mello. Yeah, I agree with you. I've been saying LA Knight should be on the main roster for the longest time. Breaker and Styles and Mello would be phenomenal. So I would really be into that as well. This one is from Daniel Rodriguez, who says that feud never finished, Denise. This will probably wrap it up since LA Knight was gone for 3 weeks. See, and the fact that I didn't even care that it was never finished and that I completely forgot about it should tell you everything about that feud. Oh man, I was not into that whatsoever. All right, guys. And lastly, this one is, oh, I already read that comment. All right, cool. All right, guys, there you go. That was my stream. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. I really appreciate you guys coming in here, taking part and chatting NXT 2.0. I'm sorry that my stream was freezing at the end. I do not know why. I will look into that, and hopefully I do not have that issue. I have not been having that issue, so hopefully I don't in the future. But guys, please do not forget to subscribe to the channel. Come back tomorrow for AEW Dynamite. And as always, I'll see you guys later. Bye, everyone.